Hi everyone, my name is Gregor and welcome to this Elliott Wave weekly video analysis in which I will look at the 5 most interesting developments and clear pattern from an Elliott Wave perspective. Now this video has been brought to you by Orbex. So looking at the first chart will be euro dollar, okay? Then I will also cover cable, Aussie dollar, Aussie yen and crude oil. Now looking at the euro dollar, we have seen a move out of this wedge that has been unfolding since start of the year, and ideally this wedge represents the final stages of this bearish cycle. I know that euro dollar is not very clear, but it looks like that this breakout may finally put some clear patterns in play. In my opinion, we should see a recovery at least in 3 waves, okay? So I'm referring to this wave B, which, if we consider that this was a wedge, could even retrace us back towards 1.14 level. But as always, I'm just trying to focus on the minimum expectations. So with that being said, I'm looking for potential rise up to even 1.12, okay? So looking at the 4-hour chart to give it the full perspective here, I'm referring to this reversal to be here a low in place, and then we have, as you can see, quite overlapping pullback. You can see there was an overlap, especially between this swing low and this swing high. It means that this can be seen as a corrective movement. We also retraced for 61.8%, plus we have seen a retest of this support for 3 times in a row. So also there were some stops probably that were cleared below this level, so I would really not be surprised if we see a bounce. Looking at the 1-hour chart, there's also a very clear pattern. We have 5 waves to the downside on an intraday basis, so it looks like that at least short term I think that this low will stay in place and that we will see a recovery. Okay, ideally this recovery will unfold in 5 waves, not only in 3 waves, but if that would be the case, then I really think that euro dollar could send us even back to these October levels, while the market is trading obviously above these October lows, which is in validation level. Okay, now looking at cable. Now cable is also having some very interesting developments. It turned very nicely to the upside at the end of August, and since then I just think that market will remain in uptrend. The reason is also because what I see on the intraday basis is just a pause within this strong recovery. Okay, so actually I'm tracking different possible and valid scenarios here for cable on a daily chart. The first one is that this is wave A, okay, this was wave A low, and then you have an expanding triangle on the way, which means that wave E could lift prices back to this wave C swing high, okay? The next interpretation that I also like is here, it's a flat formation actually. Let's say that here was completion of a wave A, then you have a 3 waves up for a wave subwave A, then you have wave B, and then you would expect in a flat a 5-wave recovery into wave C. And what is interesting when I'm looking at 2 different wave counts, that we have the same perspective, at least for the next few days. I'm expecting move to the upside out of this consolidation. Okay, I see a very nice triangle actually on the 4-hour chart. So here's this, you can label wave A, B, C, D and E. This is called a running triangle. There are also some interpretations where I could say that wave 3 has finished here and that we are actually still going to see wave E and then a push higher. But in either case, I think that this pause after this sharp move up just represents that market is just taking a breather, and that sooner or later we will see push to the upside. So watch out for push up, let's say for a recovery of 120 pips, maybe even 200 pips, once the market will be able to close, to make a daily close above this red resistance line, okay? And now also let's take a look on the next market, which will be Aussie dollar. Now Aussie dollar is making some very nice reversal. I will have to go to the 4-hour chart, a reversal to the downside. Here market actually completed an ABC recovery for wave A, then you have another ABC recovery for wave B, then you have a 5-wave structure up for wave C. And ideally, this whole structure represents a flat correction. It's a 3-3-5 pattern, normally occurs within the trend. So if we go check a daily chart, you can clearly see where is the trend. Trend is clearly to the downside. In fact, market recently failed at this upper trend line resistance. So in my opinion, we may see much more weakness here on Aussie dollar. And why I think that more weakness could occur is obviously because if you take a look here on, make a closer look of this decline, this reversal from start of November, you can actually count 5 waves down, okay? And now market is turning to the upside after a recent spike to a new low, which is fine because this was a 5th wave, even finished with an ending diagonal. So watch it now for a 3-wave recovery, and once this unfolds, I would be really interested to look for potential shorts. Now ideal resistance for this wave 2 obviously comes in at 68.33 level. At the same time, I would keep an eye on Hang Seng index. Now these are correlated markets, okay? So if this one, which is already looking bearish, will really see a breakout here of this lower trendline support, then I think that wave 3 will kick in, which obviously will cause Aussie dollar to stop at the resistance if we see once we see an ABC recovery, okay? Now let's take a look also on Aussie yen. Now Aussie yen is pair, it's a currency pair which you would love to trade in a risk-off sentiment. I realize that stocks are in a bullish mode, okay? But what I'm looking at and tracking very closely to be aware of potential limited upside on stocks is the 10-year US notes. Now here where I have the 10-year US notes, where actually I can see, let me just give you a daily chart for a better perspective, where I can see 5 waves up for a wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, and notice what is happening now. A 3-wave drop from a new high right into this trendline support. We can already see some recovery away from the trendline support, so in my opinion, this market could see more upside. So if that's going to be the case, then stocks may actually find resistance. In such case, well, what may happen is that yen crosses will see weakness. So when it comes to trading, I definitely want to pay attention, especially in risk-off sentiment. I want to look at the currency pairs which are weaker. So pound yen, for example, is very strong. It's trading around the highs. So if I want to short some yen crosses, then I will not be looking at pound yen. I would probably looking at Aussie yen. So looking here at the Aussie yen, you can see that this was a 3-wave recovery, and now market is just sitting at this trendline support. So at important trend lines, important corrections can be formed, and ideally this correction is going to be in 3 waves. This was also a triangle here in wave B, so I think that more downside may occur after this current rise, which is already at resistance. So I'm looking for idea to go short, and but it's early Monday. I will wait a little bit to see if these stocks can really stay here, or will maybe pull back down to make an idea that at least short-term resistance will come in play, which may cause Aussie yen to see reversal, which, as I said, is already weak now. So now imagine how weak it can become if stocks will really pull down. And now the final market that I will take a look is going to be crude oil. Now crude oil make a very important reversal last week. It fell below this trend line of this upward channel, so in my opinion this correction can be finished. However, what I'm still waiting for is this 5 waves of decline. Okay, now these 5 waves of decline is still not in place here for wave 3, so until that's the case, I think that we have to be very patient. Okay, I definitely want to see a continuation of Friday sell-off before I may say that we are really turning to the downside. But so far it looks very interesting. So from a trading perspective, I would probably wait this wave 3 to unfold to make sure that I'm on the right track with the bearish wave count, and then would watch out and wait on a wave 4 pullback, and then maybe short after a 3 wave sub waves right into this fourth wave resistance of a lower degree, okay, which is normally the case. Fourth waves can finish in the very similar area, okay. So traders, thank you very much for your attention. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Talk to you soon.